neighbor, welcome back to 7 on Sunday. We all make mistakes, it's what we humans do best, but the artists we're tapping into in this video made some extremely questionable decisions that landed their reputation in the graveyard.
I've made a huge mistake.
But how did such an established artist fall apart in just one album? Were there warning signs littering the streets like the trash company went on strike? Or was it delusions of achieving artistic grandeur that led them astray? Buckle up, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel, and let's jump into the operating room to see why these albums landed them on life support.
Wish I could be your teddy bear.
What do you get when you cross a bluesy, hard-rocking band with whiny, paper-thin, electronic-tinged alternative hip-hop? And the answer is... you're fucking catastrophe. Highly Suspect embodied their name more than ever after a troubled, downright bizarre swerve into their third album, MCID, which I regret to inform you stands for My Crew is Dope. They rose to fame on the back of catchy but often blistering songs like Lydia, My Name is Human, and Little One, but for whatever reason, their unstable frontman Johnny Stevens traded out his powerful voice for tempered, moody cuts with sporadic doses of him rapping. That cruel twist of the blade got the entire band more stuck than a stepmom in a washing machine. MCID is both bizarre and sad, but I can see the underlying effort that maybe could have been cool in the right hands. That is, if most opportunities weren't being thrown directly down the shitter. The double lead-in singles 16 and Upper Drugs were not at all indicative of what a super divisive maze Highly Suspect's third album would become. The guest features are grossly mismatched, lyrics at times unbearably cringe, and worst of all, not even the hardcore fans could stomach the change in directions as their chart fortunes began to fade. Their excellent 2016 album, The Boy Who Died Wolf, was a top 30 Billboard hit, while MCID slid all the way down to 79, and just 3 years later in 2022, their really generic return to rock, The Midnight Demon Club, didn't even crack the top 200 at all. Forget the top 200, you want number 1, and I can't say I blame you. Thankfully, this video is sponsored by Status Audio's Between Pro earbuds, aka my daily go-to drivers that I take with me everywhere. The Between Pros are the only Bluetooth true wireless triple driver earbuds on the market, so instead of the cramped sound that you would get with your Raycons, your Beats, etc., you're gonna get a crystal clear sound that hits with the feeling of 3D, because these have a dedicated driver for bass, mids, and treble. The battery life seems to last forever, which is amazing because I never have to charge these, it feels like. In fact, the buds themselves have 12 hours of music playback, and then the charging case has another 36 hours, so 48 hours of total juice. Status Audio are committed to making audiophile quality products more affordable, so if you want to save an extra 10% off your order, then plug in code ARTV at checkout and use my link in the description down below. Thank you to you guys for using the links when I have them, it really does help support the channel, and thank you to Status for sponsoring. The last thing most people want to hear is a seemingly out-of-touch celebrity waxing poetic about how enlightened they've become and why we need to open our eyes to the truths that they now know and live by. Katy Perry became a walking target during the rollout for her woeful 2017 album Witness. The interviews were embarrassing to watch, the singles a complete and utter mess, so it's no surprise that while a few pleasant enough songs do have a home here, the self-described purposeful pop wokeness fell flat on its face. Witness sounds like a desperate identity crisis, because Katy Perry had been on top of the world, conquering every chart with hit after hit between 2008 and 2014, but after the cycle for her popular album Prism faded, there was really nothing left for her to say. That's where Waking Up and the whole Pop with a Purpose slogan came from. She cut off all her hair, Katherine Hudson was used often instead of her stage name Katy Perry, and the songs that made up this devastatingly bloated hour-long album range from confusing to downright insultingly bad, a la Bon Appetit with Migos. More A-list producers worked on this album than there are actual songs on the album. No amount of fat stacks of cash could save Miss Katy Perry from her fall into irrelevancy, as Witness soured the general public on her image and didn't even sell well enough in 5 full years to receive a gold certification, which is really shocking considering all of her previous albums were certified at least 3 times platinum.
Man, you really freak me out. I'm so afraid of you. And when I lose my cool.
Weezer hit the tipping point with their self-titled Green album in 2001. 5 years before, they had put out Pinkerton, which was demolished by critics, and fans were very divided too, despite it arguably being their best album, and all of that sent their band leader Rivers Cuomo down a spiraling hole of blackness. Green's symmetry of pop and rock worked nicely in a compacted runtime, and with Maladroit unleashing the next year with heavy metal riffage in tow, why would anybody in Weezer's ride or die camp ever even think of worrying about what they were gonna whip out next? Make Believe came out in 2005 and stood out in an eyebrow-raising manner for being their most unapologetically commercial album to date. The hits were massive, their dorkiness appealed to kids like me, and that right there was probably the biggest problem for most fans. Why were Weezer dumbing themselves down? To be clear, it's not like they were unsuccessful up until Make Believe. This was just the most polished that they had ever sounded. And to Weezer fans, this was no longer an underdog band worth rooting for. It was a walking portrait of somebody selling out. I still don't fully understand the raging hate boners some people have against it. It's definitely yikes in a few places, I can give you that, but most of the runtime is just generic radio rock fodder that wouldn't harm a fly. And hand to God, dare I say it, the first half of the album is good. I mean, the downright lovely Perfect Situation with This Is Such a Pity and Hold Me Back to Back right after is a damn fine run. Their reputation lost a few lives during this era and the ones that followed.
Oh, it's just Weezer.
Yeah, they did deserve that loss, but Weezer are Weezer, nothing more, nothing less. And for us long-suffering fans in the nosebleeds, hey, how's it going? Want to listen to Ratitude? Jared Leto is the leader of what is slowly becoming a family-only band, now that it's only him and his brother Shannon left standing. The absence of any other members is something that I assumed had happened long before, given how soulless their recent albums had been, but it turns out 2018's America was ready to plant a flag for their most asinine outing yet. Albums 1 through 3 existed before Operation Egomaniac had gone all-out sicko mode, drenching their music in thick layers of distorted paint like it was a Splatoon battle. This was like watching a preschooler attempting an oil painting. They put way too much in some places, almost nothing in others, and needlessly went off canvas for seemingly no real purpose other than to be different or edgy, at least in the pop market. Perfect segue into America's atrocious marketing, because the thousands of combinations for the album art exist thanks to their heavy promotion of the multiple official variants, all of which are extremely frustrating to look at, and the website, of course, that let fans make their own, which should have been red flag number 1. When the media campaign slants more towards the artwork or tries to draw your eyes to the general aesthetic or the music videos instead of the actual music itself, they're probably sitting on an absolute stinker of an album, and the label knows it. The album flopped worldwide after people seemingly realized just how badly Mars jumped the shark. But let's find beauty in the negatives. At least an album called America went gold in Russia. That's an accomplishment.
No more chicken sandwiches. Yes, I'll pay for the damages.
How in the world did 5 short years take us from the classic Man on the Moon series to the badly fractured acid trip Speedin' Bullet to Heaven, the album often cited as the low point of Scott Muscuti's career? In 2015, I listed this as my #1 worst album of the year. I'm not sure I stand by that today, but that doesn't mean that my feelings toward Cudi's out-of-pocket project have improved all that much. What I will say is that it was a bit dickish of me to boil it down to just, this guy sounds like he needs some serious hell, this album is awful, okay, bye. Thankfully, I think I've gotten a little bit more tactful in recent years. The reception to his foray into psychedelic lo-fi rock was anything other than heavenly. Top critics like Anthony Fantano tore the album to shreds, and even some fans fell off the hype train as the album bombed and Cudi's mental health continued to spiral. Listening to Speedin' Bullet to Heaven isn't an experience I can exactly recommend, but I do think it's important now to consider where Scott's struggle was at, and I do respect that he had the guts to bare his soul in such a tormented, grungy package.
When I touched her, she said wait. When I kissed her, she pulled away and I knew it was over.
Right as humanity was starting to figure out how much Blurred Lines flat out sucks, Thicke took a break from getting twerked on at award shows in order to win back his wife. A truly noble quest, something that we need to see more of in this dark world. Time to cook up the blueprint. What's the best way to win back your spouse? Maybe a long visit in person where you apologize, a visit to couples therapy, or maybe you just allow time to pass to show that your actions have actually changed? Nope! I'm writing a 14-song album with your name in the title, baby! To the shock of absolutely no one, Thicke's album named after his wife Paula Patton did not go well. To put it bluntly, Thicke's desperate plea to get her back flopped badly, and it felt like the world collectively laughed in his face. It's kind of sad when you think about it, but given all of the allegations that stemmed from his 15 minutes of fame, I honestly have a hard time feeling any sort of sympathy for Thicke. Paula is an anomaly. Like, I've never seen an artist fall apart so publicly only to record an entire album that's 51 minutes long, doubling down on the secondhand embarrassment that we all felt. It's kind of a power move, but thankfully, this bad decision was his final album for 7 years, and when he did return, no one even cared, and he had to go back to hosting The Masked Singer. Your first vocalist quits, fine. Recruit another one, see what happens. But sometime around the time of that second one not working out, do you really need to tempt fate and keep going with singer number 3? Apparently so. Enter the era not with David Lee Roth nor Sammy Hagar, but instead the ill-fated Van Halen III with Gary Cherone at the mic. The late great shredder Eddie Van Halen had already cemented his legacy by the time this late 90s dud reared its ugly head, but it certainly knocked him and his band down a peg as the Doomed from the Start album began collecting dust on store shelves as soon as they hit it. Not many people were buying what Van Halen III was selling. Tepid ballads took the hard-rocking group nowhere, as overextended tracks simply wouldn't end, and Eddie Van Halen singing on the album's final moment wasn't exactly great either. It all created a very hodgepodge basket of throwaway nothing, featuring members noodling on guitars, playing some very boring drum rhythms, and tarnishing their legacy note by note. Eddie's health and addiction issues dominated the press cycle during the Cherone era, so even though they squeaked out a hit with the Decent Enough Without You, this was undoubtedly a low point that made even the Van Halen diehards turn their backs on at least the music until their reunion with David Lee Roth in 2012. Thanks for watching another episode of 7 on Sunday. It's the first one that I've done while married. Thank you guys for all of your support. I really do appreciate it. Again, thank you to Status Audio for sponsoring this episode. Check them out. It's the top link down below. They're incredible earbuds that I really do use every single day, and it helps support the channel immensely. There's some more episodes on screen now, and other than that, I will be back soon for more on ARTV.